Today, we are going to confront the green-eyed monster. Do you know what the green-eyed monster is? Have you ever heard of the green-eyed monster?
Jealousy.
Sometimes people look at me like, what are you talking about? Jealousy. We're going to talk about jealousy and some biblical ways to fight against jealousy. So I'm looking forward to a good conversation because I've never been jealous in my life. So I'm going to try to
Me
find out
neither.
what it's all about. Welcome to Looking Up. This is a podcast for Christian women. We're glad you've joined us today. I am in Texas, and it is nice and warm here. We hit the first really hot spell of the rest of the summer. So, we've been talking about, we don't like being cold. Well, now it's hot again. So I'm Carla Moore. I'm in Texas. My friend is Kathy Pollard. She's our co-host, and she is in Bowling Green, Kentucky. And we just get together once a week, talk about things that we struggle with, things that we think are interesting, things that we think are funny, just whatever we want to talk about. That's what we're here to do, and we're thankful that you're here with us. We have a group on Facebook, we have a Instagram page, and we put the videos on YouTube. So there's lots of ways you can access the programs that we've recorded before. So anyway, how are you doing? What's going on? Tomorrow is a big day in your life. You're going to be 30 tomorrow.
Yeah. I don't know how I feel about that.
30 again.
It's May. It's glorious. It's my favorite month of the year. We've had the most gorgeous weather. I mean, we can't complain ever again about the weather because we've had such a pretty spring. And Neil and I went for a walk Monday night, the other night, and we walked for over 3 miles. And I think we just went on and on and on about the weather because it was so pretty. And the meadows and the wildflowers and the breezes, we've just been really blessed with a beautiful spring. So it's warm here, but it's not hot like it gets in May where you are in
Yeah.
Texas. So.
I always think about Mother's Day is usually right about the time when things start getting pretty oppressive. And
Oh.
last Friday, Jordan came down with Clara, came over, I guess I should say. He's coming to the West, but he brought Clara to see Mom. And we kept her overnight. She stayed with us, and then we took her back the next day and were able to stay for Jackson's baseball game. But man, it was incredibly humid and hot. And it's kind of
Oh.
like just usually the first 1 or 2 days of that really hot stuff. And Houston is just known for its humidity. But we
Mm-hmm.
just have to get acclimated. After we get acclimated, then it'll still be hot, but we won't be complaining about it like we do at the beginning. But anyway, it was fun to have Clara and to see Jackson's game. So, yeah,
Oh, good.
that was a fun
You
weekend.
stay busy. You stay busy with those grands.
Back and forth. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yours are closer by, and you stay busy with them too, but
Mm-hmm.
usually when we see ours, it means a little bit of a drive, but that's okay. It's just the way it goes.
Yeah, we had Jed's official birthday party on Saturday, so we got to see all of them then. And I have a little bit of show and tell today
Okay.
because I had some fun things come my way this past week.
Yeah.
So the first thing I'll show you is for Mother's Day, Janelle gave me this rubber stamp that says a tiny spark on it. She carved this herself.
Wow. It's
Isn't that neat?
backwards, mirror image, but I can tell what it
Yeah.
says. Yeah.
Yeah, tiny
Well, that's
spark.
fun.
So I've already tried it and it looks really good. I am so impressed that she can do that. And this is one of Jed's little blocks
Mhm.
Jude's little toy blocks that she just glued to it. And
Meaningful.
then Chelsea gave me a herb stripper. Have
Yeah.
you?
I've seen those. I don't have one, but
Yeah, it's
that's
got
very
these
cool.
little tiny holes right here. And so, like, especially with rosemary, you just stick the twig through that hole and pull it out the other side, and it catches all the herbs
Mhm.
inside the little bowl. And then Beth Burmeister sent me 2 of these little glass jars
That's
with
sweet.
birds on the top,
Mhm.
Strawberry Hill. So I haven't decided what I'm gonna do with them yet. I think I'm gonna use them in my new studio for some kind of pretty
Put your
storage of some
watercolor
sort. Yeah.
paintbrushes in there.
Yeah. And then Lynn Height, whom we've talked about before, she is extremely talented sewer seamstress
Interesting.
person. Seamstress. She made me this apron.
Oh, that's fun. That's very
And
sweet.
I don't know if you can see the pattern really well,
Mhm.
but it's all
Coffee.
things coffee. Yeah. So
She's so
she
thoughtful.
said, when I saw this fabric, I thought of you and had to make something. And it, like, everything about it fits me just right.
Yeah.
It fits, it sits on me like it was made for me. And it was, but like she was with me when
Right.
she made it,
Mhm.
but she's always doing thoughtful things like
She
that. Very
is.
sweet.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I'm jealous of her thoughtfulness.
I know. I know. Yeah. But so anyway, it's really pretty.
Yeah. Well, I have one show and tell. I have two, but one of them was a gift, and I haven't played with it yet. But you'll like this because Jordan and Aaron gave me this. It's a watercolor workbook, and I have seen these, but I've
Oh,
never had one before. But each page has like a square of the paint on it, so it's just you can
yeah.
doodle with it and play with it. But I haven't. I'm excited to sit down with it and watercolor. Maybe I can beat Kathy Pollard watercoloring. Not that I'm jealous or
That
anything.
that is so fun, and I love the colors, the
Yeah.
bright colors on
Hmm.
there. My When my sister and I went to Florida together last October, she brought little travel size ones for on the plane. They're
Oh,
little
wow.
little mini ones, and I'd never seen anything like that before. And the little watercolor pieces on the paper were just like dots,
Mhm.
but it worked. It really
That's being
did.
prepared.
Yeah,
Cool.
it was fun.
Well, one other thing I want to show, and it's this magazine, Grow and Glorify, which I've talked
That's a
about.
hard copy.
It is a hard copy, and Garrett Bernethy just did one for those that contributed. But I think
Oh,
that he kind of wanted to like whet our appetite for the print version, and it is, I mean, it's beautiful.
it is.
So I think, when I have it in hand and I've passed it around here at Drippin', and I will pass it around any place I go just to show people and to say subscribe, because if we get enough subscribers then they'll be able to print the magazine. But it's beautiful. So just another plug for Grow and Glorify to subscribe, and I'll try to remember to put a link to how to subscribe next month. Not that you'll get a print copy yet, but
Yeah.
hopefully in the future we'll be able to do that.
Well, even not having the print copy, you still get the visual beauty of it when you're looking at it online, but it's a perfect combination of beauty and substance. I mean, the articles are very well written, and I love how they pick, a book, the Bible, and all the articles and have to do with that. And then there's also the practical living side of it. It's just so well done,
Yeah,
so well done.
they did a
And
great
I can brag about it because I'm not I mean, I'll contribute every now and then, but I'm not like a featured staff writer like you are, but it's
well,
definitely worth it. I
yeah,
highly recommend.
it is worth it. I think it is too. So
Yeah.
what all did you do this weekend? Was it all Mother's Day stuff?
So we had the birthday party Sunday. We went Sunday was kind of funny because I wanted to go to Cafe Italia and it was they don't do reservations and it was slam full. I mean, there was no getting, we're the last ones to leave the church building,
Yeah.
but that's okay.
Hmm.
So then Neil said, let's go downtown and see what we can find. We ended up back at 440 Main,
Mm.
which is a
Yeah.
restaurant that we went to recently. And I was like, there's no way we'll get in there. Well, so Neil went in and worked his charm because she was like, do you have a reservation? And he was like, no, but it's just me and my wife. And we weren't, she said, I think I can fit you in. And so she got us in there at this table and everybody else that came in afterwards, she was like, do you have a reservation? Do you have a reservation? Do you have, well, what we didn't even realize was they had a buffet
Oh,
set up and it was prime rib, salmon, some kind of fancy chicken dish with a cream sauce and smoked ham and I mean just all these things and then all the sides and then like cheesecakes and cream puffs and all kinds of stuff on this. So we we went in there and she seated us, took our drink orders and then said, and the buffet is ready, just walk right through there. And we went, oh, because we thought we were just going to be ordering
yeah.
something from the menu. So we fixed our plates and came back and I was going, how much is this going to cost
Yeah.
us? We don't even know.
Yeah. When they don't tell you, it's bad news.
Yeah, we weren't planning on it. We never saw it a menu.
Mhm.
So it was a little bit nerve-wracking because we kind of walked into that situation
But you didn't have to wait.
and then the bill, we didn't have to wait. And then the bill came and it was like, surprise.
Well, I bet it was worth it. I'm sure
It was very
you know how
good.
good it
Yeah.
is.
It was very good. I was like, let's just go pick up a frozen pizza and go home.
Yeah. It's funny, Mother's Day, you and I have had private conversations about this, and how when the boys were little, and both of our, my mother lived over here, my mother-in-law lived right up there. And so it was never, it was just one of those kind of a confusing day, because you're a mother, but you've got mothers. So you're honoring your mothers. And also, your husband, your kids want to do something for you and fix lunch, but it ends up being more work for you. For you,
Yeah.
okay? Did I say
Yeah.
that out loud? Yes, I
You
did.
did. You did. But
It
every
just
mom
happens.
gets it.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
just kind of you just smile and keep going. But I ran across a friend of mine, Sarah Taylor. She's Martha Blewin's daughter, but she had posted something about all I really want from Mother's Day is to go read books in the forest. And I thought, you
Yes.
nailed it. You just want to go and have some quiet time, and especially when you got little kids, you really
Yeah.
just want to go close yourself off and just have a 2 or 3 hours of peace and quiet. Sounds heavenly.
Oh, it does. Just a little break, a day to myself where we can do. I always envision just unrushed things,
Yeah.
not a schedule. I don't have to be anywhere.
Which is
You
not a
know,
Sunday.
it's not a Sunday. No, you are right.
Mhm.
But, it would involve reading, coffee or tea,
Mhm.
a blanket, maybe a little piano playing, maybe not.
Yeah.
Just like a real
Mhm.
comfortable day.
Yeah. And you
Yeah.
were saying too that you want your boys to focus on their wives, the mothers of their
Mhm.
kids, and let them have
Mhm.
that. And I think that's great too. Just let ju- there's so many conflicting feelings about Mother's Day for a lot of people.
Yeah.
So it can be a hard day. So but I like that too. Just let everybody do what they need to do, and don't make anybody feel any pressure or any guilt or anything like that. So
Yeah. Exactly.
yeah.
Exactly. Let
So
me
what
see if
are
there's
you going
anything
to do
else.
for your birthday?
For my actual birthday?
Are you going to have a
Well, tomorrow Neil's going to work and I have some work to do tomorrow on my actual birthday. But we're celebrating Saturday. We're gonna go to a local park. I said, let's just keep it
yeah,
easy, have sandwiches. There's a great big playground down there so all the little kids can run around and play. And, we're supposed to have nice weather this weekend. So,
that sounds good.
mhm,
Get to be with
yeah,
your family.
yeah. Yeah.
Um, so I was going to mention, I have a friend. Her name is Phyllis Siebert, and I know I've mentioned her before. I don't know if you'll
Hmm.
remember her name, but
Hmm.
she's a member at Southwest in Austin, and she and I have been friends since, I don't know, we were probably 13, 12 or 13. So really, she's probably my longest,
Wow.
I want to say my oldest friend, because she's not my oldest friend, but as far as going back a long way, she and I go back a long
Hmm.
way. Anyway, she texted me yesterday and she said, I want to go see your mom. Remind me where she is. And so I said, oh, that's so sweet. I just, and let me know when you're going to go. Maybe I can, if at all possible, I'm going to meet you there. And she said, well, I'm on my way now. So I couldn't go. I had things going on. I couldn't do it yet then. But she just went and saw my mom and spent an hour and a half with her. And both of
Wow.
them texted me afterwards and said they had a great time and just enjoyed being together. And I thought, Phyllis is the one I know when I think of her, I think she's the one that will drop everything that she's doing and drive an hour to take you something that you need, even though there's things that she needs to get done somewhere else,
Wow.
and she'll do it.
Hmm.
She she's just always been that way, and she's an amazing
Hmm.
person. So I just wanted to, I don't even know if she listens to the podcast, but people know Phyllis, and she's a
Hmm.
wonderful woman. And I think it lifted Mom's day and lifted my day to know that she was having company with somebody that I knew she loved. So anyway, I just want to give a shout out to Phyllis.
Yes, that another thoughtful person.
Hmm.
And I always love how when you hear about somebody doing something nice for somebody that you care about, and it makes you feel good.
Yeah,
Probably even more than the person you cared about that they did that for.
yeah, yeah. I think it probably did mean more to me than it did to Mom. But anyway,
Hmm.
I thought that was
Aw,
neat.
very sweet.
Yeah. What else you got?
I don't really have very much of it. The only other thing I could share is Roger and Joyce gave us some fresh strawberries. They went to the strawberry festival. I think that's where they went. There's one in Portland where my sister lives every year. And they went and got a bunch of fresh strawberries. And Neil went and made visits with Roger last night. And when he came back in the door, he had two big old containers of fresh strawberries. So
Nice.
my
What are you gonna
smoothie
do with
had
them?
fresh. Well, I'm just going to eat them. I'm going to eat them in my smoothie. I'm eating some fresh ones now, and I'm going to freeze the rest
Mhm.
and use the frozen ones in my smoothie. So,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
I love this time of year. I'm ready for corn to be fresh. I think that's probably another month or so away, but that's my favorite.
Yes. We have the same meal on repeat in the
Mm,
summer. Grilled chicken, corn on the cob, freshly sliced tomatoes, and green beans.
yeah. John is not a big corn on the cob fan. He'll cut it off. I know.
My
I,
sister's the same way, yeah.
I don't know if it's just because he doesn't want it stuck in his teeth or what, but
Mhm.
man, I love,
Oh,
love
me
a good
too.
corn on the cob.
Mhm.
Well, I only have a couple of things, and these are kind of like business items, sort of. Not really
Okay.
business, but
What you got?
like, so I wanted to bring up the group, looking up group on Facebook, because there's like quite a few member requests. And the way we have it set up is that if if we have a certain number of mutual friends, it'll automatically let you in. But if you, a lot of people I've noticed lately, and for good reason, have hidden their friends list because they don't want people to be able to see necessarily and take advantage of their friends list. But then that limits who is automatically accepted into the looking up group. I think you can see in the group, you can like things and stuff, but if you wanted to post or comment, you can't unless you are an official member. And
Mhm.
I just noticed I was kind of looking into that, and I also have it set up to where if you have not had your Facebook profile for a year, it won't let you in because there's so many, spam
Spammies.
accounts that will
Mhm.
create fake accounts. So anyway,
Mhm.
I just wanted to say out loud that if you're not allowed in the group, it's probably because your friends list is hidden or because you have a new account. And I don't know exactly how to fix that without changing that requirement. And I don't think that we really want to change that because I also noticed today that there was a profile called The Rich Billionaire that was automatically declined, and another one called WonHub, WONHUB, was automatically declined. So it's a good thing,
Yeah.
even though there have been some little hiccups here and there as far as being allowed into the group. So sorry if you've been rejected. We are not rejecting you. It's the Facebook group that we're just trying to protect everybody. And then
Mhm.
also, I just wanted to mention that we always talk about how this is unscripted and unedited. And yes, we are still unscripted, but we are edited a little bit now because we have a new program that allows me to, like, sometimes when we talk over each other, I can mute one of us and, so that it's not as confusing. And sometimes, we really don't edit much out, but sometimes we do. So if you've noticed some little skips or spots or whatever that sound funny, that's probably what it is. And I just wanted to say that we are still unscripted. In fact, I had to restart my introduction today so I can cut out the very beginning. But we're unscripted, but not necessarily unedited anymore.
Mhm.
But I
Mhm.
think we still go fly by the seat of our pants for the most part.
Yeah. Most definitely. I told you earlier, I was like, now I feel like I have to be careful what I say because you'll cut me out
Yeah, if I don't like it.
if you don't like it. She's just going on and on and
Yeah.
on. In fact, unless you cut this out, we we went on and on about our hair. You said for about 6 minutes
Yeah.
last week, so you were like, nobody wants to hear that, and you cut it all out.
Yeah, and that is the only thing I've cut that was just like rolling my eyes because I thought I don't even want to listen to this. Why would anybody else want to listen to this talking about our hair? So I'll just say you're welcome to everyone that you didn't have to listen to us go on and on about our hair.
Mhm.
Probably people would think that they would be happy for us to cut some other things out, but you can just fast forward or whatever the word is now. It's probably not fast forward.
Yeah.
That goes with videotapes.
Yeah, I do know that some people listen to like speed up the speed of our talking, so we
Yeah.
talk really fast.
Hmm. Yeah, Catherine Baker, I'm looking at you.
Yeah. Yeah, Neil does it too sometimes.
Yeah, well, it's efficient. They're just trying to be efficient, I'm sure.
Mhm.
And get
Mhm.
themselves a little humor too, because I'm sure it's funny. All right, you have anything else? Are we ready to talk about the green-eyed monster?
I'm ready.
Do you
I'm
know
ready.
what the green-eyed monster, what that comes from?
Mm-mm.
I did not know. I had to look it up today. It comes from Shakespeare's Othello. So we
Oh.
have a little bit of culture today and
Mm.
literature, but it comes from Othello. And I have heard these names, but I've never read it or watched it. But it's where Iago warns Othello to beware of jealousy. And this is the quote: "The green eyed monster, which doth mock the meat it feeds on." And I'm
Hmm.
kind of, I don't even know exactly what that means, but it has something to do with jealousy. Jealousy's destructive and all-consuming force that torments its victim, which is
Mm-hmm.
what they told me about Othello. So, jealousy. The dictionary definition means feeling resentment against someone because of that person's rivalry, success, or advantages. And like I said, I mean, I've not ever had any problem with this at all. So I just thought somebody out there might have needed us to talk about this. So here you go.
Every now and then we just pick a topic that we think we never struggle with it, but surely somebody does.
This is one of those things that as a girl, I remember thinking, surely grown women don't have problems with this.
Yeah.
And now, as a grown woman, as a mature grown woman, I'm thinking, well,
Yeah.
yes, as a matter of fact, none of those things really go away. All of those
Mhm.
things that you have in middle school and high school, hopefully you just learn how to control it a little bit more than you did when you were 12 years old. But
Mhm.
anyway, we're going to talk about jealousy and how we can try to root it out and biblically fight it because it would benefit us greatly to do what we can to get rid of it. The spiritual definition, it's a sin of the heart that reveals discontentment and idolatry and a lack of trust in God. And what I read, it's not a minor character flaw, it's a reflection of the flesh instead of
Mhm.
a reflection of the spirit. So I was trying to think of things that I've struggled with jealousy over. And, there's not really a whole lot of things that I just want to throw out there because it's embarrassing, to be jealous about
Mhm.
things. But I mean, it's just kind of one of those facts of life. And one of the things that I'm most jealous of is people who can eat whatever they want and they don't gain anything.
That's right.
And I really seriously am jealous about that. Remember Carrie Holland? She could eat whatever she wanted to, and she was still about this big. And there's several
Yeah.
people like that. So I really am jealous about that. I am not envious of it because envy means that you don't want them to have it. And I still want those people to be able to do that. But I am
Mhm.
jealous about that. I can be
Mhm.
jealous about John's time and attention. That's something he's not ever given me any reason ever to be jealous of his affection at all. But his time and attention is just one of those things. And I think you and I both can relate to that. I think I'm jealous of people who are like relaxed in any situation. Like they
Mhm.
can go in any room, it doesn't matter. The King of England could be in there and they'd be perfectly relaxed. And I'm an awkward jumble of nerves and weirdness. And I'm envious. I'm not envious because, again, that means that you don't want them to have it. I don't think I envy anybody anything, really. But I am jealous of things like that.
Mhm.
I'm jealous of your green thumb. There, I said it. But I am.
That's the sweetest thing you've ever said to me.
I'm not envious of it because I want you to have it. I just wish I could grow things a little more, but I also think, there's some things I could do about that. I could learn and practice, and so there's a lot of things that I guess that we are jealous of that we really could work on ourselves and be better at ourselves. Anyway, I was just thinking that we would talk about what some of the things that jealousy does to us, and then some passages that, because the Bible's full of scriptures that talk about jealousy, and then just some maybe practical things that we can do to combat jealousy. And so you jump in anytime and you can confess all of the things that you're jealous about,
Mhm.
and we'll be happy to hear your confession.
Well, um, the one that comes to my mind that I struggle with most often currently, definitely when I was in college and a much younger wife, and probably the first several years of our marriage, I struggled with jealousy just over my relationship with Neil, you know. Um, if I thought other women were giving him too much attention, I'm even embarrassed to say this out loud.
It
Blah, blah.
was a long time
Or
ago.
like you said, the time,
Hmm.
all that kind of stuff. But currently, I think the one that keeps creeping up the most is I feel like I'm surrounded by people that have common sense. That practical, smart common sense. They know what to do in a situation. They know how to handle a situation. They know how to fix something, or or like answer a need. Here's the need. I can see the need. I have a hard time coming up with a practical solution. And I feel like I'm surrounded by people that can. And I always think, in my mind, I'm going, oh, yeah. Oh, you're smart. And I feel like I'm going, how come I don't think that way? How come I can't come up with that, whatever. I really, and so I can think of people right now, names of people that I would go to her because she would know what to say. She would know what to do. She would know the best, most helpful thing to do for somebody in this scenario
Yeah.
or whatever. So
Yeah. Well, I wasn't really asking you to spill your guts, but since you did, thanks. We can move on from our little jealousies. I was just talking to a friend last night, and she stays much more informed of things going on in the community. She grew up here, and we always joke because she and John know everybody from around here from 50 years back. And she's got friends who have kids in school, and they're building a new high school here. And so she was asking me if I had read all the stuff about the name of the new high school on the Dripping Springs neighbors page. And I don't know if y'all have something like that at in Bowling Green, but the
mhm.
Dripping Springs neighbors Facebook page is a big mess of insults and junk. And I told her
We definitely have that.
I am out. I have zero interest in that because you talk about people who are petty and jealous, and I just don't have any use for that. It's just
Mm-hmm.
so I feel like in some ways, of course, being a Christian does not mean that you're not going to be jealous. Obviously, we're going to struggle with things like that. But I think being able to be removed from the world in a lot of ways does remove a lot of the really petty and the really dangerous jealousies too, and the reasons for
Mm-hmm.
why we might, be jealous of our husband or things like that. So just being a Christian, I think, and trying to be faithful in the way that we live and our affections belonging to God really does prevent a lot of those jealousies that can really be dangerous and damaging. So, I mean, being a Christian, that's going to help protect us from some of it. But anyway, some
Mm-hmm.
of the things that jealousy does, the one first thing that I thought of is that jealousy creates distance and drives wedges between family members, between friends, between Christians, even like I mean, I think we do still have some protection against it, but it happens. I know you see it, I see it. It drives wedges and creates distance between people who are members of a church or the local body. So we need to fight it just because of that reason. There was a statement that was made at George Bush's funeral. I think it was George Bush Sr. And I wrote it down a long time ago, and he said that hatred corrodes the container it's carried in. And I thought that was so good because I think you can put a lot of different things in place of hatred and jealousy.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought that fits so well. Jealousy corrodes the container it's carried in. So,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the Bible says, I think I've got it written down later, that it's rotten, makes our bones rotten. So, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
jealousy, when we're just harboring jealousy in our heart, it corrodes or it corrupts us, and it just messes up our insides to have that eating away at us. I read also that jealousy is rooted in insecurity. And so that naturally follows when we're insecure about something, that we're going to be jealous of other people that have security, or maybe we just perceive that they do. But jealousy is rooted in insecurity. And then I wrote down that jealousy is a thief, and that it robs us of the ability to truly and genuinely celebrate the accomplishments of other people. So you think about how much it means to someone to celebrate with them and to be happy for them when they've got something really happy going on in their life. When you can genuinely um, rejoice with them, I think it just means so much to people when we do that. And also to cry with them when they're crying, and do it in a real sense where they're not questioning whether or not it's genuine. But it is, when we can't genuinely do that, it's a thief. It robs our ability to really celebrate with people. So I think we have to take jealousy seriously and think about what the Bible has to say about it. Like you said, when you were talking about the things that you're jealous of, I think that they change over time because
Mm-hmm.
the older you grow, things just change. I was thinking about, I was reading about some different things that people were jealous of. And one of them that I came across was talking about mothers being jealous of their son's attention when they find them a girlfriend or a wife. And, I try to remember, and I don't know that I felt jealousy over that. But I think it would be possible, obviously. I think it'd be possible because there you've been your son's primary love, which sounds awkward to say, but then here comes another girl, and we have to get used to that. So that's something that may have happened earlier in life. When you're in the middle school and maybe you have two friends, and there's always going to be a trio when there's three of you, and there's two of them that tend to be closer, and then the third one gets excluded a little bit. So I think friendship like that can create jealousy. But the older we get, it just changes. But friendship, jealousy, and friendship is still an issue, I think, with older women. I think that jealousy with, I don't know, I think probably relationships is the biggest one that I can think of that our age group might struggle with. Maybe seeing things that are going on that we didn't get invited to, and we feel left out. I don't know. I'm just trying to think off the top of my head things that people get jealous of that have changed over time, because I'm trying to remember what I used to be jealous of when I was 15 as opposed to 58 now. It's definitely different.
Well, I was thinking about how you mentioned the insecurities, and one of the things that I jotted down was jealousy feeds on your insecurities. And it reminded me of that quote I've always heard, that the better you feel about yourself, the better you feel toward everybody else.
Mm,
And you're talking about the different stages of life. We probably struggle with different things in different stages of life, as we're um, growing into womanhood, figuring out marriage and motherhood, and just, every situation and every stage brings new challenges. And, think about aging and the challenges that come with that and the changes that come with that. But in all of those scenarios that we've been talking about, you can kind of see the difference between a superficial level relationship and a real relationship.
mm,
And the more superficial the relationships are, the easier it is for that stuff to get in the way and affect it. And, largely based on our own insecurities and objectives. But, a genuine, caring, loving relationship is going to work through some of those things. And I'm sure you're going to talk about that later, so I don't want to jump ahead. But um, it's amazing to me when you start studying something like this, how uncomfortable it gets.
yeah. Mm,
Because it's easy to say, well, I used to feel like everybody liked me until she came along.
mm,
And now she gets all the attention, and she's the one everybody talks to, and she's the one everybody wants to hang out with. Or, I remember when I was pregnant, I was, I never had a pretty pregnancy. Some women just glow and love everything about it. And I was the exact opposite of all of that. And all the yucky looking things that can happen to you when you're pregnant happened to me. And so I always felt just so gross, so unattractive. And I can look back on that time and see, because I felt that way about myself, I struggle more with jealousy,
mhm.
and so when you can make all these excuses, and here's why I'm jealous, because I've been put in this situation and that's not fair. And now this person, or, whatever comes to mind as a justification for why we're feeling what we're feeling. But when you start looking at the scriptures, and you mentioned the Bible has a lot to say about it, when I started researching it, like over 100 verses came up.
Yeah.
And the root of all of it is back to our own heart, and what our motives are, um, how we love or choose not to love. I mean, it all comes back. Not a single bit of it has to do with anything else. Now, I'm not saying that there aren't occasions where somebody is acting,
Yeah.
I'm not saying there's never an occasion where somebody is acting inappropriately towards your spouse, not to chase that rabbit, but
Yeah.
sometimes you're jealous because somebody actually is acting inappropriately around your spouse.
And that's a good jealousy. I mean, there's a time for
Yes.
jealousy, yeah.
Yes, but more often than not, it's a heart problem on our own end. And you were talking about how serious jealousy is. I broke it down into like two sections. The first one I called the poison of jealousy, and that goes back to what you were saying about just corrupting the own vessel that it sits in. James 3:16, where jealousy and selfish ambition exist, there will be disorder and every vile practice. When I look at that verse, I think, could he have put it more bluntly?
Yeah.
Like, in what way could he have worded it that would be more sobering? This is meant to catch our attention. Proverbs 27:4, wrath is cruel and anger is overwhelming, but who can stand before jealousy? And we've seen what wrath and anger can lead to, but it holds jealousy up there as even more destructive than that. Like, nobody can stand in the face of jealousy. Galatians 5:19-21 listed as a work of the flesh, right alongside the sexual immorality things and drunkenness and even orgies. 1 Corinthians 3:3, while there is jealousy and strife among you, are you not of the flesh and behaving only in a human way?
Mhm. Instead,
And when you hold all of these verses up to whatever caused us to feel that way in the first place, you really see, here's what it looks like to God.
mhm.
And when we see it in other people, it's like that quote about bad breath. It's much easier to sense on somebody else than it is yourself. When
I've
you
never
see it
heard
in
that
other
quote, but that's
people,
great.
it's when you see it in other people, it's so
Yeah,
unattractive.
unattractive.
It just, yeah, changes you. Um, James 4:11, do not speak evil against one another, brothers. And I thought that's what jealousy causes us to do. We start changing our vocabulary toward that person. Proverbs 6:34, jealousy makes a man furious.
Mm.
Romans 13:13 talks about walking properly, not in orgies and drunkenness, not in sexual immorality and sensuality, not in quarreling and jealousy. So again, look at what its
Group.
companion sins are that God puts it in there with. Philippians 1:15 talks about the fact that it can motivate our good works. He says, I didn't write that one down. That's the one where Paul's saying some preach
Mhm.
with poor motives, and one of them is jealousy.
Yeah.
So, think about some of the things that we do because we're jealous and we're trying to claim back some attention or the spotlight or whatever it might be. And then the last one I wrote down, Acts 13:45. When the Jews saw the crowds, they were filled with jealousy and began to contradict what was spoken by Paul, reviling him. So it can even seek to destroy the good works of other people. People out there just trying to serve God, being used by God. But when that little jealousy creeps into our heart, then we can't even see that. We can't even see that God is using them.
Mhm.
We just want to destroy what they're doing. And it's just so toxic.
Insidious.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so funny that you had all those verses, and I have a bunch too, but they didn't overlap very much because the Bible
Mm,
has so much to say about it. When I was just kind of looking through the internet just to see, just trolling to see what can I find out? What are some quotes about jealousy? A lot of them are so passive aggressive. It's almost like you are so hateful towards people that you think are jealous of you. So I think
mm.
the devil just doubly uses it because I found so many
Wow.
things about, it's like that commercial that I despise, and it's California Closets or something like that. And she talks about have the closet that makes all your friends jealous. And I think, so you want your friends to be jealous of you? It just is.
Hmm.
So it's almost presented like this positive thing, and the way the world uses it, the way the devil uses it, really does come between people, because that's
Mm.
exactly what he wants to do. He wants to get between,
Yeah.
especially Christians, come between us. And so you're right, it's insidious. We have to take it seriously. I also thought about, and I forgot to write this down, but I want to say it while I'm thinking of it. A quote that I came across about a completely different topic, but it applies here. And it said that her emotions sit on the throne of her intellect. And when I read that the first time, it was like, whew, how many
Mm.
times does that happen on a daily
Yeah.
basis to me when my emotion is what's controlling? everything that I do. And when I don't know if it is jealousy what's controlling my intellect, which, your IQ goes way down when you're angry, when you're jealous, all those negative
Hmm.
things that God doesn't want us to have any part in. And man, jealousy, our emotions can sit on the throne of our intellect. And
Well,
while
I
you're,
mentioned this soup. Go ahead.
no, you can continue with your thought because mine is different.
I mentioned the superficial nature of it, and usually what we're jealous of is because we're only seeing a superficial aspect of it. There's a lot of ignorance at play also because I might be jealous of somebody else and their situation. Look, she gets to do whatever she wants with her life, but I have to blah, blah, blah. I don't know everything about her life. I
Mhm.
don't know what she's dealing with and struggling with and what she wishes and her dreams and hopes that were never realized. I'm just making some really broad assumptions.
Yeah,
And I imagine it's that way in almost every situation that we can come up with that we're struggle with jealousy about is we're just kind of catching this glimpse and making a lot of assumptions. There's a lot of ignorance at play, but we allow it to get into our hearts and turn something that probably started out good and poison it
yeah,
because of our own petty insecurities.
yeah. It's like comparison. We're comparing.
Yes.
And usually what we're seeing is just, like you said, a snippet of what is really going on altogether.
Mhm.
They're putting forth what they want you to see. And so we're jealous really for no reason. I was also thinking about, depending on your circumstances in life, there are going to be different things. And I don't want to discount people's struggles because I may not, even me saying that I've not had a reason to be jealous of John's affections, but I think of so many people out there who do, who have had that. And, my heart goes out to them. And feeling that jealousy is warranted when you have to worry about your spouse and their affections going somewhere else. So
Mhm.
there is godly jealousy. God is jealous of our attention, our affection, but I
Mhm.
struggle with that as a girl, understanding that. But, it's because God wants us to have a full.
Loyalty.
Yes, he wants everything good for us, and he knows that
Mhm.
unless we are completely loyal to him and all of our affection belongs to him, then we're not going to have that full, peaceful, protected life that he wants to provide for us. So, you know, I guess I want to say that I realize that my struggles with jealousy are going to be different from other people's because of different circumstances in life.
Mhm.
So, I think these passages will cover any anybody's struggle with jealousy, but sometimes jealousy is warranted. So I don't want to say that you should never feel jealous because sometimes there's a reason to feel jealous and
Yeah,
to
very
try to
true.
make some corrections about that. So then
Mhm.
I was trying to think, okay, what do we hear about the most that people are jealous of? Friendships, maybe someone's standard of living, someone's ability or their accomplishments. Maybe they're getting the attention that we wish were getting. Maybe we're jealous of their appearance, and maybe we're jealous of an invitation that they got to do something or go somewhere that we didn't get. Maybe we're jealous of the praise, the amount of praise that someone's getting, or the amount of support someone's getting from someone else, or maybe they're being noticed and we wish we were being noticed. So those are just, the ones that come to mind off the top of my head, things that we have this petty jealousy about, and maybe we don't see it in our lives. So, what are the passages? And you've brought up some great ones, but I thought to myself, here are some scriptures, and what does it mean? What does it mean? Well, I think jealousy means that you've chosen sides and you don't even realize that you've chosen to go with the devil instead of with God. And that sounds serious, but it's
But
true.
it
You brought
is.
up James
Mhm.
3, verses 13 through 18. I can't remember which one you read. You I think read one of them in there, but this
16.
okay, so 13 through
Mhm.
18. Who among you is wise and understanding? Let him show by his good behavior his deeds in the gentleness of wisdom. But if you have, and the NIV uses harbor, and I went to look at that. If you have bitter jealousy, if you harbor bitter jealousy, I couldn't find that it meant anything but have. But I read some things that, there's a difference in those words there. But
Mhm.
if you have bitter jealousy and selfish ambition in your heart, don't be arrogant and so lie against the truth. This wisdom is not that which comes down from above, but is earthly, natural, demonic. Where jealousy and selfish ambition exist, there's disorder and every evil thing. But the wisdom is from above, is pure, peace. Okay, so there's two sides here. There's God's side and the devil's side. So you either choose God's side of wisdom and understanding, or you choose bitter jealousy and selfish ambition. And when you compare those two sides, the wisdom and understanding has good behavior and gentle wisdom, and it's pure and peaceable and gentle and reasonable and all of those good things. But when you choose the other side, that's jealousy, there's arrogance, there's lying against the truth. It's earthly and unspiritual. It's demonic. I mean, that's kind of a scary word. And disorder and every evil thing, like you were talking about. So jealousy, when we choose to feed it and harbor it, if you want to use that word, or just have it, and we don't root it out, it means that you've chosen a side. And that's a pretty serious thing to think about.
And there were a lot of verses that held it up that way, as that contrast, the works of the flesh versus the spirit, the fruit of the spirit, walking in darkness versus walking in the light.
Right.
And they all mentioned jealousy as that fleshly, worldly, walking in darkness activity.
Yeah. And we joke about it. Like I joked
Mm-hmm.
about being jealous of your green thumb. And some things, it is silly.
Mm-hmm.
But most of the time, the things that we're jealous of, it's pretty serious. That passage is a little confusing, and I read something that John Piper wrote about it. He said that James is saying your jealousy is owing to the fact that you're not getting this from heaven. This is not of the Spirit, it's not of faith, but it's demon like. So he says, kill sinful jealousy with godly jealousy. Being eaten up with jealousy is probably owing to a failure to be jealous enough for God getting, and I love this part. When we have jealousy towards someone else, he says it's because we are not jealous enough for God to have all of my affection. We're not jealous enough to give all of our trust and all of our allegiance to God.
Hmm.
And so, when I give that attention, if I give that jealousy, if I give all of my emotion, I guess it's emotion, over to someone else that has something that I wish I had, instead of funneling that towards God and giving all of
Mm-hmm.
that emotion to God, then again, that's that natural or of the earth and demon like bitter jealousy and selfish ambition. So it's kind of a deep passage to think about with regard to jealousy, but it's something I think that would be good to do a personal study and think about that, because it really is. It's a serious thing. So jealousy is choosing a side. Jealousy also is not loving. And we know 1 Corinthians 13:4, love is kind and not jealous. So kindness and jealousy there, like you were talking about a second ago, they're presented as opposites. So if you're jealous, you're not having a kind heart towards the person that you're jealous of. Jealousy also means that you lack humility, according to Philippians 2, where we're to do nothing from selfishness or empty conceit, but with humility of mind, regard to one another is more important than each other. And when you read that whole context, you realize that how important humility is to have the mind of Christ, but not to be jealous of people. Then jealousy also blinds you to your own flaws. And I think this one to me is like
Ugh.
you were talking about
Yeah.
the bad breath. Jealousy blinds you to your own flaws. And you brought up the Jews being jealous. In Acts 5 and in Acts 13, it talks about the Pharisees and the religious leaders. They were filled with jealousy. They were so blinded by jealousy that they did things that, surely they would not have done otherwise if it were not for their
Mm-hmm.
jealousy.
Mm-hmm.
Because they had people arrested, they reviled them. They just weren't able to see the truth about what was behind what was causing them to do the terrible things they were doing. In Acts 17, when they were in Thessalonica, it says the Jews were jealous and it caused them to form a mob and to cause an uproar. And it was just pretty ridiculous when you look back at that, what happened there and what they did, dragging Jason out of his house. And all of that was because of jealousy. And we know that because of jealousy, that was what happened to Jesus. What happened to Jesus was because of jealousy.
Mm-hmm.
So, man, we've got to be so on guard against it. And surely no one listening to this podcast is going to cause an uproar or drag people out of their house but I mean, these were religiously trained men, leaders who were out of their minds with jealousy. So we've just got to keep it in check. Okay, so jealousy blinds you to your own flaws. Others can see jealousy in us when we can't see it in ourselves. And you were talking about this too. And that's embarrassing.
Mm-hmm.
When everybody knows something about you that you can't see on your own, like that kind of makes my cheeks hot to think about. Everybody knows that I'm jealous of somebody, except I can't see it on my own. Well,
It's
Pilate,
like when you have to tell your kids, something happens at school and they don't understand and they got their feelings hurt, and you can see clearly what's going on. They're Son, they're just jealous.
mhm,
You're in this situation and they're jealous, and that's why their behavior,
yeah,
that's what's motivating this kind of behavior that you don't understand,
mm,
that's hurting you. And because, we're looking in, from a different perspective, you can clearly see it. So it's very sheepish to think that things that we think we might be hiding well
yeah,
come
yes.
out anyway in our speech and our behavior. And others can see we're not fooling anybody. Others can see we're just jealous, plain and simple.
And it's so childish looking. It's
Mm-hmm.
very unattractive. Okay, so others see it in us even when we can't. Jealousy can be a reason you will not inherit the kingdom of God. You brought up Galatians 5:19. It's a work of the flesh, and those who do such things will not inherit the kingdom of God. Like you said, it's in there with drunkenness, orgies. We've said that word 3 times now, so we're going to get flagged. Things like these, I warn you, those who do such things will not inherit the kingdom of God. And I think I brought up that jealousy will rot your bones, Proverbs 14:30. A tranquil heart gives life to the flesh, but envy or jealousy makes the bones rot. And there's the comparison between a tranquil heart and one that has jealousy in it. And it's like they can't coexist. I don't think
Mm.
that you can have a peaceful heart and have jealousy in your heart at the same time.
Mm. I feel like that needs to be said again.
Go ahead. Don't remember what a tranquil
They,
heart can't coexist with a
yeah,
heart that has jealousy in it. Yeah.
that is so powerful. And it's true if you think about it. If that's something that we're wrestling with, we do not have peace.
Yeah.
They can't coexist in the same heart.
Mhm. Yeah. It eats us up. And then
Mm-hmm.
the last thing, and there's so many more, but we don't want to have another hour and a half podcast. Jealousy in our heart means that we are opening the door for the devil. And it's kind of like the passage we were talking about where you've made a choice. But there's so many others that talk about in James 4:1 and 2, and then verses 6 and 7. What causes quarrels? What causes fights? Is it not this, that your passions are at war within you? And I mean, that's like one of those passages you can see, because when you're struggling with it, at least you're struggling with it. You're trying not to have it, but your mind is at war within you. You're trying not to be jealous of someone, but it's so hard because you're having a fight inside your head and your heart. You desire and don't have, so you murder. You covet, cannot obtain, so you fight and quarrel. You don't have because you don't ask. And then he says, God opposes the proud, but gives grace to the humble. Submit yourselves to God. Resist the devil, and he'll flee from you. And so I think there's passages that talk about, I mean, jealousy is from the devil. It's not from God, it's from the devil. And we can tell him to flee, and he has to. When we tell him to flee, he has to. And we think about other passages about the devil. 1 Peter 5:8 and 9, he's like a roaring lion seeking whom he may devour. Ephesians 4:27, don't give any opportunity to the devil. And then Ephesians 6:11, that put on the whole armor. Is it Ephesians? I didn't write the book, but I think it is Ephesians 6:11. When we have the whole armor of God, so we can stand against the wiles of the devil. So I'm just thinking of this in relation to not opening that door wide to the devil by
Mm-hmm.
having jealousy in your heart, because basically that's what you're doing. You're allowing him just this easy, something that we typically laugh about, jealousy, which we shouldn't. And that's how the devil has an inroad into your heart. So those are
I
just,
keep thinking about how it breaks God's heart. It must break God's heart because God wants his people to love each other, support each other, be united. I mean, that was on the heart of Jesus, before he went to the cross. But when we're jealous, it changes our perception of people. It changes how we view them. We start assigning motives that just aren't true. And biblically, think of the examples of Saul
yeah,
and how he changed toward David when he became jealous of him. Think about Martha and the things that she started feeling about Mary. And I don't know, not jealousy wasn't at play there, but just that whole bitterness. And,
Mhm.
Mary's just in there and she's having to do all the work. And, it just changes our view. And what could have started out as some innocent scenario, but we get a jealous hair. And all of a sudden, it's not innocent anymore, and let's just, the easy, if it is about another woman, she's attractive and she's making my husband laugh. Let's say I get jealous about it. Well, then all of a sudden I'm assigning motives and I'm changing my
Mhm.
perception of her and how I'm viewing her and thinking about her. And none of it's true. Most often I'm just trying to say. The fact of the matter is she's probably a very warm, friendly, kind person that makes everybody laugh who's around her and would be a delightful friend. But because I've allowed jealousy in my heart, I've changed my perception of her. I'm treating her unfairly. I'm assigning motives,
Mhm.
none of which is good, right, or true. And imagine how that must break God's heart
Yeah.
for me to be viewing one of his children in that way because of my own petty insecurities and fleshly heart.
Yeah. And it's like putting up a wall and not being able to see, like you're saying, not being able to see them for who they really are to God. We're just seeing the part that made us jealous.
The
So
part that threatens us.
mhm,
Mm-hmm.
it twists our the way we see people. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I've got 7 suggestions that I'll run through quickly. 7. And no sub points under that. I laugh at John sometimes because he'll have 3 points, but each point will have 5 points. And if you have suggestions too, you throw them in here too. The first one is when jealousy is obvious and when we know it and we can admit it, then we need to acknowledge it to God. Acknowledge it to God and name it out loud and ask for God's forgiveness. And then I was thinking about this too. I'm curious what you think about it. Maybe, depending on the situation, maybe we even need to tell that person, apologize to that person, and confess it, because I think depending on what it is that we are feeling some jealousy over, if we are able to humble ourselves and say, Kathy, I'm sorry, I was feeling really jealous of your ability to grow a plant, but I just want you to know that I admire that about you and I wish I could do that, and would you teach me? And it just puts you on a different level, I think, when you can apologize. Now I don't know that necessarily. I think we'd have to approach this carefully, because like you're talking about a woman that's making your husband laugh, then that just creates new issues, and I don't think you'd really want to do something like that. But I don't know, what do you think?
I don't know how I feel about that one.
Yeah, depends on the situation for sure.
Yeah, because I think that there's potential to put somebody in a very uncomfortable,
Yeah.
awkward situation where they feel like how do they respond? Do they need to apologize to you? That's always going to be in their mind.
Right.
Now you have planted that in their mind. Some things, as ugly and as vile as they are, especially if you haven't acted out on it,
Yeah.
but you've just struggled with it in your heart, maybe in that case it'd be best to deal with it. Maybe you need to deal with it with your husband,
Yeah.
but maybe just, work that out between you and God. Now, if you've acted out on it and it's caused you to gossip about her behind her back, or, try and sabotage her success, or I'm trying to think of ways you would act out in jealousy, then of course you need to confess. But I don't know about just like throwing it out there that I was jealous of you for whatever reason.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, I think you have to approach it very carefully. But I think in certain situations it would be helpful just to level the playing field and to put yourself out there. And that's probably not even a good analogy, but just to humble yourself and say,
hmm
I really I apologize, and I don't want to feel this way. I want us to be friends. So anyway, just depending on the situation, but for sure,
yeah,
go ahead.
I think if there's action to take, it should be because I know I've struggled with this. I need to like go out of my way to demonstrate love and, build them up and encourage them in whatever way I can and thank God for them and start seeing all the ways that God's using them and thank God for their good point. Like
Yeah,
act out on all the things that my heart is struggling with
yeah,
in a way that God would want me to or something.
yeah,
So,
yeah. Not confessing it to them, but I want to say kill him with kindness because that doesn't sound right either.
Kill your jealousy with
Yeah,
kindness.
yes. Yeah,
Yeah.
there you go. Kill your jealousy with kindness and make it genuine, mean it.
Yeah.
And that's
Yeah.
that's something to pray about and to really work on, is to mean it when you try to do those kind of things. So, but anyway, regardless, when it's obvious that it's jealousy that's a problem, we need to acknowledge it before God and confess it to him and name it out loud in front, and obviously he knows. But there's something about saying and writing it down in a prayer maybe, and telling God, this is what I'm guilty of and I want you to forgive me and I need you to help me. So acknowledge it, name it, ask for God's forgiveness. Then the second suggestion is to trust God and wait. Isaiah 40:31, those who wait for the Lord will gain new strength. They'll mount up with wings like eagles. They'll run and not get tired. They'll walk and not become weary. And I think this would be a great thing for everyone to do, is to do a search and a study on waiting for God, wait for the Lord. And it means to hope in him. But in this context, the things that we are envious of or jealous of, I hate to use the word envy, but if we're jealous of someone, and maybe this is more in line with someone's accomplishments or their opportunities or things that we wish that we had. I think I've seen this so many times. I've seen it in my life. I've seen it in John's life. I've seen it in my kids' life. Not to be jealous of someone else, but to sit back and just put your head down and do the work and serve the Lord and love God and help your fellow man and your fellow Christians, and let him decide on when he's going to lift you up.
Mm-hmm.
Just be busy about your father's business. There was a time, this was when my boys were in high school. Colt McCoy was the quarterback for the Longhorns, Texas Longhorns. And I don't remember all the circumstances, but I think he was like second string. He was having to wait behind somebody else. And of course, Jordan and Jacob both were quarterbacks. So they watched him and admired him a lot. And there was a time when he there was something that happened and he didn't get to play or whatever. And they were interviewing him after a game. And he said, well, I've learned that when you humble yourself under the mighty hand of God, in due time, he'll lift you up. And, I thought, wow, this guy knows what he's talking about, because in due time, he did get playing time. And that was a big deal for the boys back then. But I think for me personally, I think we've got to trust God, that even
Mm-hmm.
even if the things that we think that we're doing that we should get attention for, if they don't get attention, God sees. And we do what we do for an audience of one, and that's God.
Mm-hmm.
And whether or not he chooses to make that, make other people see that and let other people praise you, that's not our motivation. It can't be our motivation. We just need to trust God and wait on him and do what we know is right, because I think our talents, God's developing our talents and our abilities when we wait and trust in him, wait on and trust in him.
Mm-hmm.
He sees our efforts. We have to be satisfied to wait on him. I hope that makes sense.
It does.
Okay, so that's the second one. The third one is to cultivate contentment. Hebrews 13:5 says to be content with what you have. Then 1 Thessalonians 5:18, give thanks in all circumstances. And again, that there's a saying that praise will be your greatest weapon against whatever, fear. And I think in this situation, gratitude will be your greatest weapon against jealousy. When we are not focused on what somebody else has or what somebody else can do, but instead we're being grateful for the things that God has blessed us with and the talents that he has given us. If we're just making a list, maybe we're making a gratefulness journal and writing something every day in there, then that's cultivating it. That's being content
Mm-hmm.
with the things that God has given us. And when we have, what was it we were talking about a minute ago, that things that can't coexist, I think jealousy can't coexist in a tranquil heart. That was what it was.
Mm-hmm.
So jealousy cannot coexist in a grateful heart that has contentment in it already. Okay, do you need to jump in anything? Anything?
No, I had 4 ways to overcome jealousy, but now I'm down to 2.
Okay, then you tell your other two, and then if they overlap with mine, I can jump out.
Well, I had be content, Hebrews 13:5, as you did, and I'm kind of on the one you were just talking about. I called it guard your heart because Jesus said in Mark 7:20 through 23, what comes out of a person is what defiles them, for it's from within, out of a person's heart, that evil thoughts come: sexual immorality, theft, murder, adultery, greed, malice, deceit, lewdness, envy, slander, arrogance, and folly. All of these evils come from inside and defile a person. And then Proverbs 4:23, keep your heart with all vigilance, for from it flow the springs of life. And I wanted to talk about that a little bit because of the episode we did recently that you called the one about the blessed woman.
Mm-hmm.
We talked about all those things that she does or doesn't do. And we spent a lot of time talking about complaining and criticism. And when that episode was over, I could not let that go. I just kept thinking about it and kept working it. And I kept going back to this matter of the heart. How do you nip it in the bud? It's not just a matter of learning not to speak those things, not to let complaining speech and criticisms come out of my mouth, but how do I address it in the heart to where it doesn't land there in the first place, that I'm not viewing things with a critical, complaining spirit. And I even thought about trying to massage this a little bit more and work it into a blog article because, that everything that we talk about, the heart is the root of it all. Jealousy, guard your heart. Don't let it take possession. Don't let it take root. You've already talked about how it can't coexist with peace and gratitude and all these other things. But what does that actually look like? And when the thoughts first come, I think that's when we decide how it affects our heart. Am I going to take it in, and am I going to think about it, stew over it, get myself worked up, start making all these, decisions and feelings and things land and dwell in my heart and bring it back out later when something else happens. Aha, see? Or is it view it for what it is and acknowledge that it's not from God and it has no business being there, and reject it and don't even allow myself to think that way. I ran across last week, where did I put that down? They were actually talking about bitterness in marriage, how to keep bitterness out of your marriage. And this person was saying, every time I start replaying those things, those old hurts and resentments in my head, I start changing. And she starts talking about how she starts feeling disconnected.
Yeah.
She withdraws.
Mm-hmm.
She feels cold and distant toward the people that she's supposed to love. And she says, but she had to learn to stop and ask herself, what story am I believing right now? Examine it.
Mm-hmm.
Put that thought to the test. What am I choosing to believe right now? And it goes back to what you were talking about with wisdom from above versus demonic wisdom. What am I choosing to believe right now? And challenge those thoughts. And I thought that was so good. And she mentioned some that relate to the bitterness and things that we might think, he'll never change, or, blah, blah, blah. But you can do the exact same thing with thoughts of jealousy. And she says that can become a life-changing habit, that when those we know what they're like, those first little feelings and inclinations come upon us, and it's not like we ask it to, it just suddenly it's there. Develop the habit of, wait a second, pull that thought out, look at it, examine it, challenge it. Is this even true?
Yeah.
9 times out of 10, probably not.
Yeah. It's a matter of choice.
Yeah.
You can choose to be angry. We really can choose to be angry or let it go. And can choose to complain, or we can let it go. We can choose to believe truth, or we can choose to believe a lie, really, that's from the devil, and remember where it's from.
Yeah. I love what you said about keep your head down. Don't worry so much about everybody else, what they've got going on, unless you're trying to look out for them and lift them up.
Lift them up.
Yeah. Keep your head down and do the work that God's put in front of you.
Yeah.
That's good.
Your 2 extra suggestions, or was that?
Yeah, be content, you had already talked about, and then guard your heart, I forget what you called yours, but we were kind of talking about the same thing. So those are the two that we had in common.
Okay, what are your other two?
The first one was overcome it with good, and you kind of talked about that also. Romans 12:21, do not be overcome by evil, but overcome evil with good.
Mhm.
And in context there, he's talking about strife, the whole heaping coals with kindness
Mhm.
scenario that he was talking about there. But it's, we talked about it a minute ago, really, with the whole, if you're struggling with that and feeling jealous towards someone, it's not a good feeling to begin with. It doesn't feel good. Um, but you can do something about that. You're not stuck with it. And we don't have to sit there and live with it. It goes back to that making a choice. We're not stuck with it. And it is evil. It sounds strong, but it is. I mean, look at all the scriptures that we started out with that talk about how it defiles a person. And to defile means to make unholy.
Yeah.
So it is evil.
Mhm.
And we can overcome evil with good. So, in whatever situation that is, we can ask ourselves, but what good can I do here?
Mhm.
And that's just it's gonna turn things around. God knows we're human and we struggle and we have insecurities. And I think in those vulnerable moments, a lot of times they can come on the heels of some kind of hardship or tragedy or hurt feelings or whatever it is. And we're feeling a little bit vulnerable, and or lonely. Satan sneaks in there in those moments and can turn it into an opportunity for some of these unholy
Mhm.
seeds to land and be planted in our heart. So, but we can overcome them with good, and the being willing to view it objectively and then do the follow through. Pray about it. What good can I do in this situation? Um, and I think probably a lot of times if you nip it in the bud early on, it's just one of those weeds that's easy to pull up.
Yeah.
Okay, it's gone. But if we're sitting there feeding it and letting that resentment grow, and then we're making our little tally marks, now look at this. Now they've got this. Now that,
Yeah. It's
then
growing.
it gets harder.
Mhm.
Yeah, then it gets harder. But you can still overcome. We can still overcome with good.
That you were talking about, it's uncomfortable. Feeling jealousy is uncomfortable. But I think some people, it becomes a way of life, whether it's
Mm,
jealousy or bitterness or anger or whatever, any of those, insert whatever problem you have. I think there's a
yeah.
lot of people that are comfortable with it because that's their way of life. They just live that
Mm,
way. And it's a choice. And we've kind of likened it before in marriage situations, discussions. You're driving in a rut, and maybe your marriage or maybe your jealousy issue, it's familiar to you, so you keep your tires in that rut. And anytime you try to get out of the rut, you pull your car out, it's hard, and the
mm,
ruts try to pull you down in there again, and you have to keep fighting and build a new road away from the rut. And I think a lot of people that live comfortably with jealousy or anger or whatever, discontent, complaining, they have to decide. And then it's going to take a lot of work because it's a
mm.
habit, it's a rut. So if that's maybe you out there listening, if you're in a rut of jealousy or a rut of whatever, you have to make a new habit, and it's going to take some time, but you can choose it and you can do it. So don't be comfortable with that. That's
Yeah.
so uncomfortable.
Don't let yourself get comfortable with that feeling.
Yeah.
My last one was love more, and you alluded to that also with the 1 Corinthians 13. Love is patient and kind, does not envy
Hmm.
or boast, is not arrogant or rude, does not insist on its own way, is not resentful. I think resentment is tied to jealousy quite strongly. But I was thinking, what does that look like? Um, to love more in those situations. And Romans 12:9 and 10 really answers that question because it says, love must be sincere. And goes on to say, be devoted to one another in love and honor one another above yourselves. And when that becomes our motive and how we view people, viewing them the way God wants us to, sincere and showing love and looking for ways to honor them above ourselves instead of being worried about, oh, they're being honored above me. Yeah, and you're supposed to be doing that.
Yeah. Yeah.
then we love more. And you could insert that into your little statement about a loving heart and a jealous heart can't coexist.
That's that go first and lead the way passage.
Hmm.
So outdo one another in showing honor, love. Um, go first and lead the way. You don't have to wait for someone else to do that. You go first and show honor. Okay, so I'm going to skip a couple. Pray, pray. That's such a huge blessing, a huge power source that I think we sometimes forget to tap into. And every time I had a situation last week with the place where my mom lives, and I was really worried about dealing with it. I had to go in, I had to talk to people, and that's not something I really enjoy doing. But I
Hmm.
sat in my car. I mean, I've been praying about it up to then, but I pull up, I sit in my car, and I prayed about it. And I just prayed to handle it the right way with my own attitude, with my own words, and that they would handle it the right way. And I'm always amazed, and I don't know why I'm always amazed, but I'm always amazed at how much better things go when you pray first. That was an episode
Hmm.
we had. That was one of your episodes, Pray First. And why do we not do that? I
Hmm.
think sometimes we do. I mean, it's a normal thing that we do, but pray specifically about things. James talks about praying for wisdom, but we can pray for the one that we are jealous of. And what better way to say wish? That's not the right word I want, but I can't think of another word. To wish good on the person that you're jealous of, than
Hmm.
to pray for them. Luke 6:28. Bless those who curse you, pray for those who mistreat you. And even, they're not mistreating you when you're jealous of them, but we perceive it that way, that we're being mistreated because of whatever they've been blessed by. Even if that's a misconception, it still applies here. Pray for them. Pray for the person that we're jealous of. And it just puts them in a different place in your mind when you're asking God to bless them. It moves them out of the category of a person that's our enemy into the person that we want God to bless. And so I think that would be a very powerful thing. And then the last one is, we talked about when it's obvious to acknowledge it and confess it to God and ask for forgiveness. But when it's not obvious, and this is one of those, maybe a blind spot that I think sometimes we have, and we don't know, we might not be able to put our finger on it that it's jealousy, but something's off. And there's something about that person. I can't put my finger on it, but I just don't like them. I don't know what it is. I can't, they're just not my favorite person. We have all kinds of ways of saying that they're just not my favorite person. We just don't get along. Or, I'd rather spend my time with so and so. Then I think when it's not obvious, I think we have to look for it and recognize that it's a problem with jealousy. And maybe it's a problem with selfishness. Maybe it's that they're getting what we want and we're feeling selfish about it.
Hmm.
And so I was thinking, if it is selfishness about that person, that they're getting something that we wish we had, again, we have to acknowledge it and root it out and name it for what it is. And so I was trying to think of some other words for selfishness. And when you say it out loud that we're being self centered, I'm being egotistical, I'm being narcissistic, I'm being self
Ugh.
absorbed. It's like, I don't want to be any of those people. But if I am so jealous of someone that I can't even see it, then that selfishness I think applies to me. All of those words apply to me.
Hmm.
So just think about it, look for it, recognize it, root it out. And there's that saying, when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. So when we
Hmm.
look at different people differently, they change in our eyes, they change in our heart when we pray about it, especially. So quite a few suggestions to get rid of jealousy biblically.
Yeah,
I think
very good.
we can
Needed
all,
conversation.
yeah, me too, as always. Okay, so do you have something good for me?
Well, so I did write it. Where did I write that down? Hang on.
Must not be
I
really good. You'd
know.
be able to remember.
Oh, I found it. I found it. There's a little trio of siblings. They're a singing group and they're called Life in 3D.
Hmm.
Have you have
Mm-mm.
you heard them? Um, I don't know if it's because all of their names start with a D, but they did this little write-up about the name of their group, Life in 3D, is because when they come together and sing in harmony, they feel like it just brings things to life and enhances it. So it's like a different, view or whatever. But they have such tight harmony and they are young and I just love good harmony in a singing group. They sing some oldies, they sing some contemporary, all different styles. You can find them on Spotify or YouTube or whatever. But I just ran across them maybe a month ago. And of course, now that I've played one of their songs, I feel like I'm seeing it everywhere. But if you like good type harmony, and I especially love it when siblings sing together, like when family members sing together, and that's what they are. So then you might check out Life in 3D.
Okay, sounds good. I wrote it down. I'll check it out. All right, my something good for you is a little reel that I saw that I thought was such a great idea. And it didn't even have any sound. It just had words at the bottom. And it was a dad who had just put one of his kids to bed. And he came out the door, but he didn't shut the door all the way. He left it cracked open like 4 or 5 inches. And he said something that they had been doing that has been very meaningful to them is that they'll put their kids to bed, leave the door open, and then they'll go stand outside the door and talk about their child, something that they were proud of for them doing that day, how they really like them. I mean, I'm getting choked up thinking about it,
Ah,
but they're just saying, did you see what Jacob did today? I was so proud of him for
oh my
whatever. And I just think he's the greatest kid, and I just think I'm so proud of him. I can't wait to see. Isn't
That I
that
have chills
awesome?
running all up and down my
I know,
arms.
I loved
I
it.
love that.
And
I want to
once
redo.
I mean, once they're 12 or 13, they might figure out, they might be onto what you're doing. But if they're 6 or 7 or younger or whatever, I think they would lay there and just eat it up. And what better way
Mm.
to put some confidence and love and, just to know that your parents are proud of you.
I love that. And to represent the love of the Father,
Yeah.
that security. Ah,
I want to
that's
go
so
to
good.
each of my boys' houses now and stand
I
outside their door and maybe I can make it happen.
know.
Excuse me, I'm going to open your door for a minute.
Go back to sleep.
Me and your dad want to talk about you. Okay.
That is sweet.
I thought it said. So,
That's really good.
okay, what's for dinner?
Well, I don't want to tell you.
Cereal?
Not quite that bad. I'm sick.
Mm-hmm.
And so Roger Watt, one of our members here, gave Neil a loaf of sourdough bread and it's got chocolate chips in it. It's from like a
Ooh.
local bake lady that he knows that he buys this bread from, and it's really good. And so Neil said, "Don't even worry about dinner. We'll come home and I'll toast some of that bread and make some scrambled eggs." And
Ooh, that sound. Why would you not want to tell me that? It
because
just
I'm not even
makes me
cooking dinner.
jealous. Chocolate chip sourdough bread?
Yes. Yeah.
Well, we had leftovers for lunch. It's Wednesday, so our meal is at lunch. We had leftover salt lick. It was pretty good.
Oh, that is good.
If
That is
you
good.
know anything about Salt Lake barbecue here in Central
Mm-hmm.
Texas, it's good stuff.
Yeah. Hey, did I mention the dandy cakes on here?
Mm-mm, I don't think so.
Oh, well, I'd run across this recipe for dandy cakes, which is dandelion in pancakes.
Oh, okay.
And well, we tried it on Saturday, and it's kind of tedious because you have to
You're not pitching
soak
this very
them.
well.
Well, it just is. You have to soak them and rinse them and make sure there's no teeny tiny little ants crawling in them, and then you have to pull out the little tiny petals. But basically, you just mix it in your pancake batter and it was pretty in that when you were eating it, you saw all those little tiny yellow petals. It was pretty, but you can't taste it at all. Like neither one of us had tasted any dandelion flavor whatsoever. And I was kind of a little bit nervous about it because wasn't sure how I felt about floral pancakes, but I've made dandelion jelly and I loved it. But we made it because it's supposed to be really good for you. Dandelions have lots of health benefits. And so I guess it was kind of a win-win because you couldn't taste it and it was good for you. And we used Carl's homemade maple syrup that he tapped
Mm,
himself on it. So it was really
forgot about
good.
him doing that.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
Yeah.
Okay, dandelion cakes. I probably won't try
Dandy
it, but
cakes.
dandy cakes.
Yeah.
Sounds
Dandy
good.
cakes.
Right. Okay, well, it's been fun, and we're glad all of you have joined us. Thank you for spending your time with us. I have no idea how long this one lasted. I think it might have been another long one, but yes, I think it was another long one, looking at the time. But thanks for joining us. We've enjoyed it. We have needed the study, and always enjoy talking to you, Kathy, and I love you, and until next time.
Keep looking up, and I love you too.
All right, talk to you later.
Okay, bye.